Our next speaker this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is a friend of this organization, and he's the only farmer serving in the North Carolina Senate. All of you know Senator Brent Jackson. He spoke at our convention, I believe, in December. And since then, a lot's happened, and we invited him to come back this morning. Senator Jackson serves as North Carolina's 10th senatorial district, representing the counties of Duplin, Johnston, and Sampson counties. Brent Jackson didn't inherit a big farm and it was passed along to him. Brent Jackson started a farming operation. I know it. He and his wife, we're pretty close to the same age. I started farming in Pender County about the time he started. I know what he's done, and he is a co-founder of Jackson Farming Company in Altreville in Sampson County. Let me just tell you this, in terms of his dedication to agriculture, in a couple of weeks, there's, food safety, particularly in the fruit and vegetable industry, is a huge issue now. And Brent Jackson, Senator Jackson, is going to open his farm for a tour of federal food safety. Debbie Hamrick of our staff is setting it up, and they're going to take a tour. He's going to open his farm at probably as busy a time for shipping as you could get, but he's going to open his farm for those folks, those regulators, as we develop these food safety regulations, and they're going to take a tour of his farm. That's the kind of leader that he is. And I saw you talking about the commissioner's passion. I sat in the gallery 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I knew Brent Jackson had passion, but I saw his passion as he spoke on the Senate floor in defense of farmers and agriculture in this state. He is an influential member of the Senate. He's one of our champions for agriculture. He serves on the Agriculture, Environmental, Natural Resources Committee. He's co-chair of the Powerful Appropriations and Budget Committee. He's, as Commissioner Troxler said, he's one of the driving forces behind any agricultural legislation that comes through the North Carolina Senate. I'd ask you, let's give a warm Farm Bureau welcome to our friend, Senator Brent Jackson. Senator Jackson.
Good morning, and thank you, Larry, for those words that probably was not deserved, but thank you anyhow. Before I get started, I want to do something just a little different. Where is Jake Parker and Paul Sherman? All right, stand there. Oh, you are standing, aren't you, Jake? I'm sorry. And Paul come out from around behind the corner, and we have Peter Daniels here as well. And where's Linda at? Where's Linda? The newest arsenal of folks from Farm Bureau. Where is Linda at?
Linda.
Yeah, there she is. Oh, yeah. These folks, I want y'all to, when you see them, thank them for what they do. Because none of this stuff we've done since 2011 could have been done, especially without Jake and Paul. They have been there day in and day out working on your behalf and helping us get this stuff done. And even Mitch shows up occasionally, But when times really get tough, I've noticed Peter and Linda show up. So, yeah, they bring in the big guns. But I just wanted to, let's give them a round of applause. And one other thing I'd like to do, I couldn't do anything without good support and good staff. And so I'd like to recognize two fellers in my office, Alex Fagg and Ross Barnhart. Both of y'all stand up. They deserve a round too. The commissioner mentioned about the Farm Acts. This was our 6th Farm Act. We used to do a bunch of individual bills when I first got in there in 11 and 12. And to be honest with you, that got to be, I was wore out, if you want to know the truth about it, running so many different little bills. So we started to do what we call an omnibus bill, and we started the Farm Acts back in 2012. And we have done things in the Farm Act as simple as allowing us farmers to haul hay 2 bales side by side. We've allowed that. We've done things such as the commissioner talked about regs, that prior to us running a bill a couple years ago, when the Highway Patrol came out there, the farmer was always at fault. That's just the way the law was written. We were at fault. We've put it in there where they actually have to do some measuring and doing some things to see who is actually at fault. Those are simple things we've done. We've had a lot of controversial ones. One of the bigger controversial ones prior to this year was the commissioner and him getting the Bambis over to his department from Wildlife Resources, and I'm talking about the deer farming. You're welcome. That's a new industry, and that's an agriculture industry. But this year, Farm Bill done many things. One, we talked about milk labeling. And thankfully, we hope it didn't end up exactly the way we wanted it to, but we think FDA is going to step up to the plate and regulate that milk is milk. And it doesn't come from a nut, and it doesn't come from all these other things, that it comes from a mammal. And so the commissioner's working on that as well. And there's many other things we've done. We've set up in statute now on voluntary ag districts. So if you're in a voluntary ag district, or you need to be in a voluntary ag district, there are certain guidelines that will tell a potential buyer of that property that they are buying into an agricultural district. This is all things trying to be proactive to stop some of these frivolous lawsuits that are going on. But the Farm Act this year ended up being, I thought the milk thing was going to be the most controversial, and it was pretty controversial. But every good bill needs some shiny silver object. And the milk, even though that was a great deal, that turned out, we thought, to be the shiny silver object until you got to Section 10 of the Farm Act, which was the right to farm. And this started in 1979, way before Representative Dixon and Lewis and myself and the commissioner were in where we are today. And by the way, I could not do none of this without Representative Dixon and Lewis in the House, that's for sure. I tell folks I'm one of 170 members, and I have to have the majority of them to agree with me to get anything done. So thank all your House and Senate members. Get to know them if you don't know them. You really need to get a relationship with them. So when you call them, they'll pick up the phone and talk to you. But this year's Farm Act, we could not, as the commissioner mentioned earlier, go back and make it retroactive. We have tried that in the past, and it just would not work. We could not get the members to sign on to it. And so here's what we done, and I want to read this to you. This is the preamble to the 2018 Farm Act that we put in there to show that your General Assembly has your back, or is at least attempting to, and that we are trying to do what we can to protect our right to farm. And it starts out Session Law 2018-113, Senate Bill 711, an act to make various changes to the agricultural laws. Whereas frivolous, nuisance lawsuits threaten the very existence of farming in North Carolina. And whereas, in response to the long-standing threat to agriculture, in 1979, the General Assembly enacted the state's first effort to statutorily protect the ability of farms and forestry operations to continue to operate and surround with development encroachment, as surrounding development encroached. And whereas the following 1979 enactment, at least 3 succeeding General Assemblies in 1992, 2013, and 2017 tried to perfect a statutory framework that broadly fosters a cooperative relationship between farms and forestry operations and their neighbors across North Carolina. And whereas recently a federal trial court incorrectly and narrowly interpreted the North Carolina Right to Farm Act in a way that contradicts the intent of the General Assembly and effectively renders the act toothless in offering meaningful protection to a long-established North Carolina farms and forestry operations. And whereas, regrettably, the General Assembly is again forced to make plain its intent that existing farm and forestry operations in North Carolina that are operating in good faith be shielded from nuisance lawsuits filed long after the operation has become established. Now, therefore, the General Assembly of North Carolina enacts, and then it goes into the 15 sections of the North Carolina Farm Act. That is in the general statute today to send the message to these courts that since 1979, our General Assembly has tried to protect the right to farm. We thought we had it right on several occasions, and we feel like we've got it right now, and we hope this is what it'll be. But I wanted to talk with you just basically on the Right to Farm Act and what it really means. You know, it has been said that this law that we enacted this year, Section 10 of the Farm Act, is so clear, the only folks that can't understand it are lawyers. So, first, the plaintiff must legally possess the property they say is being affected. This seems simple enough. Second, the property must be within 1/2 mile of the farm. Third, the lawsuit must be filed within a year of the farm's operations start. And fourth, if the farmer has violated any laws or regulations, the plaintiff cannot be awarded punitive damages. That was a big one, folks. That was a big one. But I want you to also know, nothing in this law has been written or ever has been done since I've been there that will protect the bad actors. None of it. The bad actors still have to pay and clean up their operation. But for those of us that are trying to do it right, as I said on the Senate floor, we have done everything by the book that, and in that case, I said this building has ever enacted, and we still get sued. But I want to leave you with just a little note on more of a lighter note. Our friend David Rouser, Congressman Rouser, when he was first running, he had a political flyer. I know all of you have seen these flyers. You get them in the mailbox. I know during my first campaign, I had some of my citizens in my first district tell me if they got one more flyer for me, they were going to vote for my opponent. So, you know, you see them all the time. Well, Congressman Rouser, he wasn't congressman at the time, and I've known David way before he was in Congress and before he was in the North Carolina Senate. He sent out one. I told him, I said, that is the best flyer I have ever seen. I said, I think that's the best one you have ever done or I have ever seen. It was so good, folks, if you'll walk in your office, which is my Senate office, and I say your office, you're the taxpayers. I just occupy it currently. I've got it framed, sitting on my shelf. It says they used to call them bank robbers. Nowadays, they call them trial lawyers. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me. God bless you.